Come explore our world of coffee. DeLuna Coffee was founded in 2014 by Ed and Courtney Lemmix alongside their son, Brett. The Lemmixes are Pensacola natives with a passion for coffee, so what better than their Beachin blend, which is just that, Beachin. It's their classic combination of Colombian and Brazilian beans. It creates a superior French roasted coffee taste, lower in caffeine, so it'll keep you easy breezy. Ed and Brett are both FSU alums and are extending a special offer to our listeners. Use the promo code WARCHANT15 for a 15% discount. Visit thelunacoffee.com and check out their Facebook and Instagram.
From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee.
Coffee's for closers only.
Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
And Corey Clark.
Wake up! What's up, everybody? It is Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee, DeLunaCoffee.com. Come explore our world of coffee. That promo code WARCHANT15. If you're listening to us on an iTunes Apple device, why don't you head over to your podcast store or whatever it's called these days. Leave a 5-star review. We would appreciate that. Thumbs up if you're listening to us on YouTube. And as always, WarChant.com remains the ultimate Seminole sports source. Promo code is WARCHANT30 for all the inside knowledge on what's going on with Florida State. Corey, I had this thing, so I'm only treating myself because I don't deserve DeLuna coffee every day. You know, some people do. I do not. I'm drinking it on the weekends.
Okay.
I was listening to Bill Maher earlier in the week or last week, and, I agree with him on some stuff. I disagree with him vehemently on a bunch of other stuff. I always do find it amusing that he's got this thing where he kind of has this – he likes to needle overweight, obesity, and how you can't kind of – he's upset that you can't make fun or poke – or put a spotlight on those folks, okay? And I was thinking, why don't everybody just drink coffee then in that demographic? I have like my regimented diet that I eat the entire week, like so I can keep my calories up, so I can try to gain weight on this horrible frame of mine. Man, when I drink coffee, I don't even get hungry. I don't know how people drink coffee all day, like 2 or 3 cups, and still like eat meals. It's amazing.
I tell you, because Stephanie drinks coffee a lot, and she's a big fan of Midnight Shift is what she wanted me to let everyone know out there for you DeLunatics out there. Yeah. And same thing. I'll ask her like what she had for breakfast, and she's like, "Well, I had some coffee. I had coffee, and that would be it." She's like, "I had coffee and half a piece of toast," and I'm like, "What? Like what?" And she, I guess for the coffee drinkers, like the consistent ones that do it all the time, maybe that's a great. A way to stay thin.
It's an appetite suppressant. There's caffeine, I guess. I don't know. Anywho. What we don't know either is where Florida State is going to be. What a horrible transition. I'm sorry. I'll get better one of these days. We don't know where they're going to be in the NCAA national tournament, the men's basketball team, that is. Mm-hmm. We do know they're going to be in Greensboro, and they're going to be the number 2 seed, which, frankly, Corey, and – I don't know if we all collectively as Florida State fans, Florida State media, put the juju, the bad juju on Florida State. In no way, shape, or form did I see this coming. You were talking about it like 2 weeks ago. Hey, man, like they got 3 more games. Just got to win 2 out of the 3, and you're going to be okay. And then you're talking about North Carolina, talking about Boston College, and you're talking about Notre Dame. And it's like, of course. Lenardi had them as high as a 3 seed. While they were trouncing Boston College, and it seemed like, all right, everything's fallen in place. It's almost like 2019-20 deja vu. And, man, it's all kind of come apart. And they won a game like a week ago. And I don't that game, that loss Saturday against Notre Dame is about as bad as I've seen this fan base take a loss. I don't know, since – maybe like the Georgia Tech game, football opener. Like we were 3-6 in football last year. Everybody loves football at Florida State. I've seen there's a lot of angst on the message boards after this loss. It's almost inexplicable. How did it happen, Corey?
They don't. Apparently, they just don't want to shoot away from home. They just don't like the buckets. I don't know if Leonard needs to do the Hoosiers thing and have Nate Jack get on Raekwon Gray's shoulders when they get into an arena. And have them hold the measure tape and say, how high is that? 10 feet. Okay. and they go to the free, and do that. Okay, I think you'll find these same measurements back home at the Tucker Center. But it really makes no sense to be so different between one venue and the other when there's no crowd involved. Like, I get it's hard to win on the road in the ACC, typically. You're playing in front of 10,000 fans. They're loud. The refs can be a little, maybe play to the crowd a little bit more. The home team gets a few favorable calls. It's harder to play on the road. There's a reason that the point spreads shift when you play on the road. But when there's no crowd, it shouldn't be this drastic. And they played 7 games on the road, if I can remember correctly. I think they went 3-4 on the road. And in one of them, they shot well, and that was Louisville. Didn't shoot all that well against Pitt. Didn't shoot all that well at Miami. And then the other games they lost because they didn't shoot well. And I think it's, because
2-4, by the way, on the road.
Well, no, they beat Pitt, Miami, and Louisville on the road. So
tell them
3-4.
Tell them to fix the schedule.
I will. But I know they won at Pitt, and I know they won at Miami and Louisville. So, but yeah, man, I get the frustration because you had a chance to do something really special. You were going up against a team that had essentially quit in its last few games. That team lost to Boston College the week before. That Boston College team that the walk-ons played even with beat Notre Dame. And then you go up there and just lay a complete egg. I get it. I get the frustration. And more than that, you get a chance to do something really special. You get a chance to win back-to-back regular season titles. You get a chance to win a regular season title. That's not stuff that happens at Florida State all the time. All you had to do was either hold on to a 16-point lead against North Carolina or beat a really bad Notre Dame team. A Notre Dame team that didn't shoot all that well from 3. Like, I would have thought if Notre Dame was going to score 80 on you and beat you, it's because they were 17 of 29 from 3. Not 9 of 27. That's not good enough to beat Florida State. It was just the offense was terrible for large chunks. MJ really struggles shooting away from home for whatever reason. I mean, he's shot well away from the Tucker Center in the past in his career. But this year, I think he's 4 of 27 from 3 on the road and like over 50% at home. I don't know how you explain that. I just don't. But, yeah, it's a really bad loss. There's no other way to I don't know if the pressure got to him. But getting down 20 to that team, I don't know if Notre Dame's been up by 20 on anyone. To get down 20 to that team and then decide, oh man, we need to start playing. Oh, well, we cut it to 4. Well, if you'd have come out playing like that, you wouldn't have had to make a crazy run to make it close in the final couple minutes. So yeah, man, I don't quite understand what happened. And the thing is, look, we know enough about this team now to know. Yeah, they have the potential to get to the Final Four, but it's seemingly here recently, they don't string enough good performances together, especially away from the Tucker Center, to have any real confidence that they're going to win 4 games in Indianapolis and do something really special. They could. They certainly have the potential, but it's going to be really hard for them to do. It wasn't really hard for so say they get into the second round. Okay, well we're at a place now of Florida State basketball. We're just making the tournament and winning a game. That's ho-hum stuff. Maybe it shouldn't be, but it is. Getting to the Final Four would be a great accomplishment for this team. Elite 8 too, I guess. But they had a chance to do something. They had a chance to do something that could have been remembered forever. To win another regular season title, to hang up another banner. They had 2 chances to do it. And they, frankly, choked away 2 chances. I don't know that you could say they didn't choke on Saturday.
Let them off the hook.
To play that poorly against a bad team, to play that poorly offensively I don't know how you explain it. I don't know but, there is a chance that they could rebound and it could become some sort of motivational tool for them. But, yeah, that was really disappointing to play that poorly with so much on the line. Because what worries you is, okay, with that kind of pressure on the line that comes when you're trying to win a championship, there is some pressure there. To handle it that poorly, well, how are they going to handle it when their season is on the line? Are they going to clank a bunch of 3s again? Because that seems to be, it's recent history, and it's recency bias. They've still had a very good year. I don't want to take that away. But they had 2 chances to really win the conference. And, because we knew they were going to beat Boston College at home. So at North Carolina and at Notre Dame, they had 2 chances to win the conference. And they didn't play well, and they didn't shoot well. They clanked a bunch of shots. And is that what it's going to look like? Is that how they handled these pressure scenarios? Because guess what, man? It gets to be really pressurized when your season is on the line. And for some of those guys, their career is on the line. So that's what's troubling, is that you feel like, okay, they haven't really handled the moment well. And so how are they going to handle it in Indianapolis? The good news is, though, they won't be playing on anybody else's home court unless they're playing Butler for some reason, and that's not happening. And this could be a good teaching tool, a good motivating factor. And the best run they've ever made under Leonard Hamilton in the NCAA tournament came after a huge flameout in the ACC tournament a few years ago, where Louisville beat the bejesus out of them. Like, I think they were up 25 on them at some point in that game in the quarterfinals of the first round of that ACC tournament. They snuck in. They didn't sneak in, but they got in the tournament as a 9 seed and won 3 straight games. So maybe they can use it as motivation, and they'll get hot in March. But unless they go to a Final Four or an Elite Eight, nothing they accomplish in March. Well, and also they could win in Greensboro now. It's not the end of the world. They can beat anybody up there, quite obviously. So they still have some chances to make some special things happen and to have a nice special moment. But they blew their first opportunity. They blew it. Losing at Notre Dame like that, you blew a chance. So that's frustrating.
Notre Dame had not beaten a ranked team since 2017, had a 28-game losing streak versus ranked teams. What's crazy, though, is as we sit here, and you mentioned recency bias, when they came back from their second hiatus after dealing with COVID, you know, they got pushed to overtime against a pretty weak Wake Forest team, but found a way to tie, got it to overtime, and kind of cruised. Absolutely stomped out Virginia at home by 21 points. Go up to Pitt, beat Pitt in a game that, you know, got maybe a little close towards the end, but it was never really all that much. There wasn't a lot of panic going on. Then they go down to Coral Gables, back-to-back roadies.
Yeah.
Take down Miami by 17 points. They go and they lose to a North Carolina team that was desperate for a win, come back home and absolutely just dominate Boston College, and they go and lose to a bad Notre Dame team. Like, that does not sound like the end of the world, but for some reason it feels – I saw somebody make a post about this, I think, on the Hoops board, which I kind of agreed with. Like, a week ago, you're thinking, man, this is a 3 seed, and maybe you end up not having to – you can duck Gonzaga until the Elite Eight at that point, or maybe the Final Four if you're a 3 seed, if you're not in the same region as they are. And then now this feels like the team – because, listen, Lenardi had him as a 3. Lenardi doesn't even have him as a 4 seed right now. Like, now it feels like they're the 5-12 game, and they're the 5 that's going to get upset. You know, and that's just so crazy to think about how quickly it's changed. Because, again, like I just rattled off, like their last 6 games – I mean, golly, they're 4-2, and they beat the heck out of Virginia, and they won some games on the road. So I don't know what to feel about them, but I am feeling a bit prisoner of the moment unless they go to Greensboro, especially if they just don't win one single game in Greensboro, then everyone's just going to be miserable.
And maybe but maybe that'll be good for them. Like if they. I think they'd play they'd play Duke or Louisville. They're going to play Duke or Louisville in their first game. There's no shame really in losing either one of those games. But say they lost to Louisville, and they go into the tournament with like no expectations now. Like it's slumping Florida State. Everybody will be picking them to be one of the upsets. Maybe that's what this team needs. Maybe it's the reverse that they struggle with. Anytime they get near the top 10, they lose. 2 times they had a chance to wrap up the ACC title, they lost. Maybe if they went in as a 3, they would feel some added pressure. But going in as a lower, and I'm not advocating for this. They don't need to lose. They need to, but yeah. So, you never know. Like I said, that team 3 years ago, they went in as a 9 or a 10 seed they had the team before that with Isaac, they were a 3 and had a ton of expectations. Oh. They got trounced by an 11 seed in the second round. Then the next team that kind of snuck in, not on the bubble, but close-ish to it as a 9, goes and wins 3 games and knocks off the number 1 seed in the second round and then knocks off Gonzaga in the third round and comes within 2 possessions of getting to the Final Four. But maybe that's where...
At no point did anybody have high expectations for that team, though. Once Isaac, everybody left, it's like, that was nice for Florida State. They're going to go back to being irrelevant. Like, this team for the last 2.5 weeks has been the sexy pick. As much as people want to talk about ESPN bias and not getting enough love. Man, like Seth Greenberg, everybody, Reese Davis, everybody's been gassing up this Florida State team. And then for me, locked in this prison of the moment thing now is I come back to all the questions that people are asking, like, who do you trust to have the ball when the game matters? Because, like, Raekwon Gray's a great college basketball player. Like, he's shown himself to be fantastic. He's stat stuffing, doing everything. Like, I don't, like, who is the leader of this team right now? Like, Scotty Barnes, to me, Scotty Barnes is an amazing talent. Scotty Barnes is not a Trent Forrest, Terrence Mann. I don't even it's like a Devin Vassell kind of calming force on a team right now. And I don't know who they have. Like, this team, to me, just feels, like, really young and just lacking, like, the leadership and the guidance that they had over the last 2-3 years from guys like Terrence and Trent. Like, that stuff sounds so hokey, but, like, this is, like, in the flesh. I feel like we're watching it play out right now. But
yeah,
again, they go to Greensboro and win a game or two. And then
I was going to say, well, they can go to Greensboro and win the whole thing. Like, there's nobody in that game in that tournament that they're scared of. They can beat all those teams. And then again, you have something to hold on to. This season's magical no matter what happens in March. Again, I think the frustration is that you had a chance to make this a memorable season. Yep. You had a 2-game lead and you blew it. And look, Virginia. All of a sudden, Virginia played at Louisville the way you were supposed to play at Notre Dame. Like, Virginia, all of a sudden, they took the court knowing if they won the game, they won the conference title. And they took it to Louisville, like you're supposed to do. But Florida State, knowing that all it had to do was go beat Notre Dame, and it played scared and I thought. And hopefully that's out of their system.
Meanwhile, the Lady Noles fell in the ACC tournament to Syracuse. I didn't get to see that one, but I think maybe they're going to make the tournament, right?
Yeah, they should. I think they'll be like in the 8 or 9 range. They had a pretty big lead in that game. I think they had like a 12-point lead at halftime, maybe, and they lost on a buzzer beater, which is tough. I hope that's not like the basketball gods hurting the women's team because of all the buzzer beaters the men have won on over the years. But yeah, so that was a rough loss because that would have. I think they're in anyway. I'm pretty sure they're in anyway, but that would have obviously cemented it, and they would have gotten another crack to beat a top 5 team in the semifinals. But they lost a heartbreaker in the quarterfinals. But either way, it's been a pretty cool season for them for Brooke Wyckoff to be the interim coach with Sue Semrau taking care of her mom. And for them to, we think, qualify for the NCAA tournament again, hats off to them, man, because they lost a ton of production off last year's team, a lot of it. And for them to come back and still make the tournament would be a nice accomplishment for them.
Just figured it out. I think I know what we're going to end the shows on. I think we're going to end our shows, Corey, with so I got to give it a clever name, but basically the gist of it's going to be talking about threads on Warchant that I didn't read, but I just saw the headline of it or the title.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
Because there was one about, like, did the refs screw us against Syracuse? So I don't know. Like, maybe I don't know if, like, they put extra time on the clock. Maybe that gave Syracuse the opportunity to win. I don't know if I'm trying to be like Walter Cronkite with a football in his hands. I hope I don't come off as pretentious. I don't want to be pretentious. There's a lot of bad things in my DNA, my character flaws that I'm aware of. I don't like them, try to change them, but then again, I am who I am at this point in my life. But I don't want to be pretentious about things. I can't do the refs thing, man. And I used to be able to, I think, when I was younger. I can no longer do it. Like, when people talk about, like, what happened in a game and the refs were against us, it's almost like flat earthers. It's like, oh, okay, you're that vintage? Okay. All right, well, good luck. We'll see you next time. I just can't get into it. So maybe I will, maybe do I need to, am I lacking empathy, Corey? Or am I trying to be too journalist with a capital J by not, like, getting involved in fishing? Unless it's, like, really, really egregious. Man, there are some really egregious examples. I definitely agree. But, like, first half whistles, charge block with 8 minutes to go. Yeah, I could have turned the point. I don't know, man.
Well, look, you don't want to blame stuff on the officials. Much like Mike Bray did last year in Tallahassee.
Come on, man.
Come on, man. We're in the ACC too, or whatever he said. That was really funny. I forgot all about that. Again, man, like Notre Dame or Florida State had like
I filmed all the press conferences, Corey. I filmed every press conference last year.
Yeah.
And, like, you combine all the views I got on mine, a fraction of you the one time I didn't go to a game and you just pulling out your phone like the last minute and a half of Mike Bray just melting down.
Not the last minute and a half, the only minute and a half. He left after that was his opening statement, and he left.
Okay, yeah.
And so I get it out, and I'm filming him. He says, "Come on, man," or we play too. Whatever he said that made me laugh. And so my laugh is audible. He looks at me, he keeps talking, and he stands up and walks out. And that was like football traffic.
Yeah.
That explosion and again though, that goes back to I don't know what it is. Florida State just does not play Notre Dame well ever. Yeah. Other than the time they blew them out in the NCAA tournament when Notre Dame was a 2 seed back in 11 when Florida State got to the Sweet 16. Other than that, they just don't play Notre Dame well. They lose up there almost every time they played. Last year they didn't lose up there because Trent Forrest took over in the final minutes. They had to have a crazy comeback to win that game. They almost blew it last year down in the Tucker Center. The year before when they were really good, they struggled with Notre Dame. They lost up there the year before that. It's just crazy. I don't quite get it because the rest of the conference sure doesn't seem to be struggling with them. But Florida State always does. Always does. And so that was again, I guess we don't have to rehash that, but that was disappointing because you had a chance. All you had to do was beat a 9-13 Notre Dame team who had students chanting "Fire Mike Bray" at their last game. That's how bad their season has gone. They were getting blown out at home by NC State, a team that Florida State beat by 100. 4 days after losing to Boston College, another team Florida State beat by 100. And Florida State goes up there and is down by 20 in the first half and can't make a shot. Because sometimes to win a championship, you're going to have to make baskets away from Tallahassee. It's proven. I've looked it up, guys. The NCAA tournament, there aren't any games in the Tucker Center this year for the NCAA tournament or the ACC tournament. You're going to have to make baskets, lots of them, away from home. So hopefully, again, that was their last blip. I will say this. I don't want to lose – I think maybe if we just look at the regular season as a whole in its totality, it's a great season.
Absolutely.
Yeah. 15-5, whatever they were in conference, 11-4. Just a great another undefeated home slate, and it wasn't like it was a huge home court advantage this year. There's 1,500 fans in these games. So on the whole, really good season. I hope Raekwon Gray is a first-team All-ACC member. He might not be. He probably won't be now that they're not I think if Florida State had finished number 1, maybe there's a chance one of their guys gets voted as a first team member. But it's North Carolina. All the media members of North Carolina vote. Raekwon Gray will probably not be a first team All-ACC player, but he should be, in my opinion. That guy has been a double-double machine. He has been the best player on the team, the most consistent player on the team. He can make shots home or away, and he's proven that. And I just think he's been great since the turn of the year. He's been the best player on the team. He's not the most talented. That's Scotty Barnes. He's not the leading scorer. That's MJ Walker. But he is the best. He's been the best player on the team. And I hope he gets some sort of recognition for that because he's been awesome.
Rank the 3 best players on Florida State's team.
Raekwon, Scotty, MJ.
Okay.
That's in the order. And I don't think that's recency bias. I think Raekwon and Scotty impact the game a little differently, even when they're not scoring. MJ, when he's shooting well, is all ACC first team caliber. He's a great shooter when he's shooting well. I guess anybody is, right? I'm a great shooter if I'm shooting well. But he just, he struggled away from the Tucker Center, and hopefully, but he's good, man. He's a good shooter. Hopefully he'll catch fire in North Carolina. And again, they still have a chance to do something special in North Carolina. They still have a chance to do something special in Indianapolis. It was right there for them, and they just kind of vomited all over themselves when they had a chance. Yep.
Did you have anything you want to talk about referees about when I cut you off there?
Oh, no, but I will say, there are times where you don't want to blame the referees, like say the referees cost us. But, if you watch a game like Florida State and Notre Dame, and they're calling a lot. And I'm not saying Florida State doesn't foul, but it was the same thing with the Pitt game last year. There's another game this year, I feel like, where they just got a really bad whistle, and the team was shooting 1 million free throws. And then you watch like Virginia and Louisville, which is just as physical, and there's no fouls being called. Well, how does that? Who comes up with that? Like, is it just the referees when they get on the court, like, hey, we're going to let you play a little bit today? But in South Bend, they weren't because Notre Dame won the game at the free throw line. They don't typically get fouled a ton, and they got fouled a lot and made all their free throws. But yeah, so I think you can say that it's not the officials. You don't want to blame the officials, and I'm certainly not. The officials aren't the reason Florida State shot 40% against the worst defensive team in the conference. That's on Florida State. But there are times in other scenarios, and I hearken back to a certain playoff game where Eric Gregg was the home plate umpire. And folks, if you haven't seen it, and I know I've said it on the show before, just go YouTube Eric Gregg Braves Marlins. It is the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen. And I remember at the time watching it being, come on, McGriff. I know it's a little bit outside, but you can't take that. It's too close with 2 strikes. But watching it back now that I'm older, I mean, it's in the other batter's box, and he's calling it a strike. So in those instances, yeah, you can't blame the ref. Sometimes refs or umpires in that case do lose you games. But more often than not, yeah, it's like a loser's limp. It's like, well, we can't just say we played terribly or we got beat. We got to blame something. Well, no, I blame the Florida State players for the way they shot the basketball.
2 hours, 9 minutes, and 15 seconds. It's the whole game. The readily available clips of this game demonstrating the worst of home plate umpire Eric Gregg's strike zone don't do it justice the same way the full ball game does. So this person put up the entire game, apparently.
And it was both sides, but I think there's a cut-up of like all the strikeouts in the game for each team. Yeah. And it is nuts. It is and R.I.P. He passed away he passed away many, many years ago. I don't like speaking ill of the dead, but it's also been a couple decades now. But it should have been a fireable offense. That's not baseball, what happened there. And going back to the charge block, I would be 100% okay if they just got rid of the charge. Just got rid of it. Like, you can still have an offensive foul if you use your leg. Or not your leg, if you use your elbow to clear out. That's still an offensive foul. But the secondary defender sliding over under a guy in the air who's beating his guy off the dribble, and another guy just slides up under him and then falls backward like he's been shot by a Lee Harvey Oswald. I don't know why I had to specify Oswald. He could have been shot by anybody. I was just thinking of back and to the left.
Yeah.
From JFK.
My God.
So you Zapruder it up, slow it down. I hate
two
it.
shows in a row of some morbid stuff out of you. Come on.
I know. I don't know what's going on, man. I don't know what's going on. But that's not basketball. And in the NBA, that's not defense, I should say. And in the NBA, they so rarely call charges. You really have to earn a charge. They almost always call that a block. So much so that people don't even try to do it anymore. Like, the secondary defender never even tries to get there anymore because they know they're going to call it a block. But in college basketball, these referees love the charge. It gives them a jolt of excitement that they quite clearly don't get at home. And it's like, okay, maybe they don't have the best life, the best home life, and the only sense of energy and excitement they get in their life is to point the other way with a charge. It just jolts them up like getting 100 on a test or something. They live for that moment. I'm convinced college basketball officials live to call the charge, live for it. And 88% of the time, it's not a charge. It's almost always a bad call. So just get rid of it. Say we don't have a charge anymore. If you're a secondary defender, you better try to block the shot. Because if you slide up under them and shoot back 8 feet like you've been kicked by a donkey, we ain't calling it. We're going to call a foul on you. But they're not going to do that. So
no, they're probably not. I would like to see no calls. Like guys bump into each other and it's like, all right, just play on. I feel like there always needs to be a whistle when something happens.
I agree. And just when you don't reward the flop. If he wants to flop, let him flop. And okay, now it's 5-on-4 because that dude is wiggling around under the basket like he's been netted, like he's a marlin, and he's just wiggling around under the basket. That's fine. Let him do that. It's not a foul. That guy gets to go up and shoot a layup.
Also, Silverline, Raekwon Gray might be able to – he's going to at least get one vote, I think. I heard Kurt Weiler, the Tallahassee Democrat, overheard him, I think, in the press box at Hauser saying that he did an unconventional, I think, 3 guards, 2 forwards, first team ACC, all ACC. So I think he put Raekwon on his. So
I wonder if Ira votes for that because I used to vote for it, but I don't think I vote this year. I didn't get an email, so maybe Ira votes for it. So Raekwon will probably get 2. But that ain't going to – I don't think Florida State's had a first-team All-ACC selection since Tony Douglas. I'm almost positive that's true. Maybe Bacon, but I think they haven't had a first-team All-ACC selection since Tony Douglas 12 years ago. And if y'all haven't been paying attention, Florida State's had some pretty good teams. I'm pretty sure they've had some lottery picks in that span. But no, they haven't had an All ACC first teamer.
Speaking of which, when I was walking to Hauser, did you know that Roderick Johnson, he was a 2-time All-American?
He was like the Jacobs Trophy Award winner. Like, I think he won that back-to-back too. Yeah. I don't know if he was,
but like All-American.
I mean, I think he was probably a freshman All-American one year because he played that second half of the season. And anytime you're doing that at an offensive tackle at a school like Florida State, you'll probably make some list. And then, I think one of those years, he's probably just a straight up he probably made like the Street and Smiths All-American team.
I was about to say, we're using not the
but not
highest.
Consensus. Like, he wasn't a consensus, or unanimous like LaMarcus Joyner was. There's a lot. Those All-Americans are, I don't want to say a dime a dozen, but there's a lot of them that you go back and like, wow, he really wasn't all, like baseball guys too. Like, he was an All-American. All right.
I thought we only used like AP and like the Football Writers Association of America.
I don't think
we
so.
Just cast a wide net. Al Thornton, 2006, 2007 was first-team All-American, and then Tony Douglas, 2008, 2009. And Corey is correct. Since then, nobody. Closest was second-team last year, Devin and Trent.
Okay, so you're talking about first-team All-ACC.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, isn't that something? Dwayne Bacon, Malik Beasley.
But then you start looking
Chris
at
Singleton.
These names, man. It's like Zion, R.J. Barrett, DeAndre Hunter. Year before that, Marvin Bagley, Joel Berry, Kyle Guy.
Who was it last year?
Vernon Carey Jr., Jordan Nwora, John Mooney, Trey Jones, Elijah Hughes.
Come on, man.
Yeah,
Elijah
right.
Hughes over Devin Vassell or Trent Forrest. Come on, man. And who knows what it'll be this year? It's a down ACC. Yeah. It's not a ton of NBA dudes. Raekwon Gray has clearly been one of the 5 best players in this league this year, and he's not. I would venture to say he has barely any chance of making the first team All-ACC. It'll be Matthew Hurt from Duke because he scores 20 points a game, but he probably gives up 28 on the other end. Who else? Probably Moses
Leaky
Wright.
Black, just because he's got a cool name. Everyone's like saying his name. They want to be able to read it.
I don't know if North Carolina will have one. Moses Wright will definitely be one from Georgia Tech, well-deserved. And then you're looking at like the Pitt guy, Champagny will probably be one, which is UVA he had a better –
big?
Who?
Doesn't Virginia have a big?
So is it going to be Jay Huff? Is it going to be Sam Hauser? They got one. I can't – like, what would Raekwon Gray – Champagny's a very good player at Pitt. I'm not trying to take anything away from him. But wouldn't Raekwon Gray put up similar numbers there? Like, and do we account for defense at all? And other things that Raekwon Gray does? I hope he gets it'll probably be second team, which is, okay, he averages 12 points a game. And I know if you're running down these lists and you don't get to watch Florida State all the time, you're going to be like, okay, am I going to vote for a guy that averages 12 and 7 as opposed to a guy that averages 17? Well, it's like, this guy played for a winning team, and he's also really good at defense. And he's a passer, and he breaks the press. Like, he does so many things for Florida State, but it's not going to happen.
It's like, I don't want to get into this too far into the weeds on this. We've got to talk about baseball and maybe preview spring football a little bit. Again, could you imagine – and then listen, I know Florida State made it to the national title game back in, 72?
Yeah.
Made it Sweet 16 with Bob Sura, Sam Cassell. They're not the – Wake Forest won the title. They're not the Miami of basketball. Like they're not Miami football of ACC basketball.
Right.
Like they've done really great stuff in the conference. They've won it, for example. But I just wonder, like, when your program, your identity, and it goes to the journalists that do these things, like they shouldn't be that far invested in it. But like when you grow up and everything's about Duke and North Carolina, and to a lesser extent like NC State, Virginia, and then like Florida State comes along. Like, I don't know, you can't. I don't think you can ever shake the fact that you still think they're like a flash in the pan. It's a football school. You can never wrap your head around. I think it's probably so easy when you're not watching the games all the time to dismiss stuff away or just explain it away. Like, it's I'm not going to give them credit, and like that's the stuff that I will say is like real. There's some real like anti-FSU bias when it comes, especially like basketball, for sure. That's a real thing. It's unfortunate. I still don't know like what else Florida State has to do to get. I think they're on the right track. I mean, they keep this going for another 3 or 4 years, and it'll be laughable if they keep leaving guys off.
And I agree with you, but I think like if Raekwon Gray comes back to school next year, I do think there's a chance that he could be like the preseason player of the year. Like they do know who he is. It's just at the end of the season, I think they get too caught up all media members do in the numbers, the numbers on paper, and not necessarily go deeper into the numbers or go deeper into what he does on defense. All that stuff should matter, and it really doesn't. They're going to get hung up on somebody that averages 17 a game. Meanwhile, it gives up just as many. Raekwon Gray guards 1 through 5 and leads the second best team in the conference in rebounding. It does, like I said, does a little bit of everything. But also there's part of it too that like Florida State's just not going to have guys that put up huge stats. It's like the fact that the 2013 football team had one All-ACC first-team member on defense. One. Every single one of those dudes played in the NFL. Every single one of them. And only one of them, not Jalen Ramsey, not Timmy Jernigan, not Mario Edwards, none of those guys made it. LaMarcus Joyner's the only one that made the first-team All-ACC out of one of the best defenses in conference history. But it's because they didn't put up huge numbers because none of them played in the fourth quarter. Like half their games, they only played one half. So LaMarcus Joyner would finish a game, or Telvin Smith, better example, would finish the game with 6 tackles because he only played half a game. You're telling me there were 3 linebackers that year that were better than Telvin Smith? No. But so I think that happens to Florida State basketball players a good bit too. They don't get to put up numbers because they share the ball so much.
I want to pull it up. Vic Beasley, Kareem Martin on the defensive ends, and I'm not going to be able to finish it out because there we go. I got an ad blocker on. Get off my back, CBS Sports.
I think the defensive tackles, one of them definitely was Aaron
Donald and Nikita Whitlock.
Yeah, you could definitely say the Donald kid was pretty good. I feel like he's proven himself. I mean, that's just me. I'm saying that. I'm not saying you have to agree with it. But I think Aaron Donald's pretty good at football. But Whitlock, come on, man. And Whitlock played in the NFL. He was not as good as Timmy Jernigan. Give me a break. But, hey, man, Jernigan was second team.
Kelby Brown, Denzel Perryman, Kevin Pierre-Louis, your linebackers. Safeties, Anthony Harris, Jeremy Cash. And cornerbacks, Ross Cockrell and LaMarcus Joyner.
Yep, Ross Cockrell over Darby.
P.J. Williams.
P.J. Williams, Jalen Ramsey. Yeah, what do those guys ever do? Anyway, all right. Enough about that. But Raekwon Gray.
You guys got like 30 minutes of basketball.
I just want to say Raekwon Gray, awesome year. And the whole team, great year. You lost a ton. It's just disappointing that you had a chance to really put a stranglehold on something special and it slipped through your hands.
Bat and ball-wise, shout out to the Florida State softball team who split with top 5 Florida. They were shut out, I think, in game 1 and then bounced back nicely to get the split. So Lonnie's got them cruising. They got number 2 Arizona coming to town, you said, Corey?
They do, which is crazy, and that is a good win. Obviously, it's a good Florida team. Florida has a good team every year. And the thing about Florida State and the ACC, you don't get a ton of chances to play, like, I don't want to say elite competition, but top 5, top 8, type teams. You just don't. Like, I think there's 3 teams ranked in the ACC. They're all 14, 15, and 16. Meanwhile, like half the ACCs and half the SECs in the top 12. You think it's bad for football? You should see softball. Like it's all SEC or Pac-12.
Oh gosh,
But then Arizona, is the number 2 team in the country, and they're coming in this weekend for a really big series. You know, just for postseason purposes wise, if you take 2 out of 3 from Arizona, then you do have a chance to maybe work yourself back into like a top 8 national seed, which would be great because they're always really good at home.
Also, beach volleyball doing work out in Baton Rouge. I don't know why I sound like I was Scottish.
Was that a road? Yeah, Baton. Yeah, that's right. Was that a road match they went out there and won?
I think so. There's a tournament going over there. They're 10-0 right now.
Yeah.
With victories. Again, it's the LSU Tiger Beach Challenge. They took down Houston Baptist, number 1 LSU, number 19 Georgia State, and number 11 FAU. Georgia State 19th beach volleyball?
How about that? Well, there's a lot of sand in Atlanta,
Lenox
like
Park?
downtown Atlanta.
Lennox Park got that nice shoreline?
Well, no, it's not Lenox Park. It's Centennial Park.
Okay.
That's where the whole Richard Jewell thing happened when the bomb went off. Well, they've just turned that into a huge, big volleyball pit.
What was that movie? Did you watch the movie? What was the movie? How was that movie?
It was all right. It really is a shame what happened to him. He was a legitimate hero, like a straight up hero. He saved dozens of people's lives, and then for 3 months, everybody said he planted the bomb. He actually did not plant the bomb. He saved people's lives from it, and then he's the leading suspect. But it's very anti-media, which in that instance, for sure, I can agree with. Because I mean, I'm a media member, so I'm not on the anti-media train. But in that sense, the media did not do him justice at all. It really was kind of tragic. That guy should have been celebrated. He should have been like the Time Man of the Year. All this, I mean, he should have gotten the
called
key
it
to
Jewel
the city.
Park. Yeah, for Centennial Park, Jewel Park.
Yeah, they could have changed the name of the road or something. I mean, he was a hero, and he was thought to be he was the leading suspect for months, because the FBI was looking into him because he was kind of a strange dude, and he'd had delusions of grandeur in the past, and yada yada yada.
Oh,
but he
don't
actually
spoil the entire movie.
Sorry.
I want to see some of the psychoanalysis.
Sorry, but it's good. It is good. The guy, I can't remember his name. The actor that plays him does a great job. He's really good in it.
And then, so that's beach volleyball, sandwich between.
We're covered
movie
it
time.
all.
Yeah, and then baseball, the Noles, back in the winner's circle. They took 2 of 3 from Virginia, which means they won the series. They won Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday. Had every opportunity to win that game. They had bases loaded, no outs in the 8th inning. Squadouche, then they had a strikeout. They tried to bunt and bring Robbie Martin home. He was thrown out on the 4 side at home. He slid, and his front leg went over home plate, and he tried to touch with his back leg. So, and I was on the post game press conference, but I was recording it, and I was there, so I didn't have my other computer, so I couldn't ask Meat was he told to do that? Was it just a bad break? And then Tyler Martin, 9th inning, doubles off the wall with 1 out, and they couldn't advance him the other 180 feet to bring him home. That kid, I mean, right now, it's the arms are starting to actually prove out to the prophecy of what everybody was saying, that they thought they had one of the best staffs in the country. Still probably a little bit too ambitious of a bar that they set, but they're looking very much improved after this series. Offensively, man, it's Tyler Martin and a bunch of bleh. There's nobody else batting over 250. Maybe Matt Nelson, but he was out of the lineup Sunday. Because he hurt his wrist. I don't know if he fell on it weird trying to block a ball or if it hit him in his wrist when he was trying to block it, but he's out indefinitely. Logan Lacey also banged up his hand, but they won 2 out of 3. The first game Friday night was ugly, but they were opportunistic. They got 2 runs and they held on to it. Parker Messick showed every bit of that whole bulldog metaphor analogy they use. He battled. And then Hunter Purdue came in and shut the door. I think he's a true freshman from Utah. I should probably look that up. That was incredible. And then Saturday they had a bit of an offensive explosion. They got back to playing meat Moneyball and forcing walks and scoring runs on bases loaded walks and getting timely hits. And then Sunday, good strong pitching from Connor Grady. That Wyatt Crowell kid that you liked from last week, he's showing something. And Meat said as much after the game. So real good pitching. They only allowed 2 runs, and they had every bit to win the game, but they didn't. And they're still striking out, though, a bunch. I haven't counted it up, Cord, but I have now logged every single game that they've played and all the strikeouts and whether or not they're looking or swinging.
Okay. All right.
Maybe I'll have those added up for our live show. Although, how are we going to do live show with spring football being so late in the day?
I don't know, man.
This
can't
be
tough.
They just can't win with me. I complain when it's too early. And then
Let's do like a midnight show. We can do midnight shows and really get after it.
I don't know. FCC won't be watching us. We can drop some bombs.
That's right. We can do whatever we want. Play any music we want. Look, overall, on the whole, it's just such a bad taste when you have a chance to sweep.
Yeah.
And all you needed was the one hit. Not just to tie the game on the bunt, but to get the one hit there. And you sweep the series would have been awesome, especially after getting swept. To sweep Virginia would have been great. It's still a good weekend, quite obviously. The pitching, Messick was incredible. He's good. He's legit. I think Messick, if he stays healthy, he's a major league pitcher. It certainly looks like Bryce Hubbard is a guy that you could. I mean, he's the real deal.
Yep.
He was great on when Connor Grady is your number 3 guy. It says something about your staff. And then Crowell. Carson Montgomery, I assume he might pitch on Tuesday.
Correct, he is.
Okay.
4 o'clock against USF. Go watch that game if you want to watch football, folks, because I'm assuming they're going to be practicing around the same time. So
there
if
you
you
go.
sit in the right part of the park, you can probably look over and see the team practicing, unless they go into the IPF to shield
Or they put a
themselves.
big shield. They just put a big shield over the outdoor practice field, or a big shield up on the concourse over the baseball stadium.
They've done some
They just
beautification around the practice fields. Did you see? I don't know if you noticed when you were
I
in
did. And
Hauser.
I wasn't looking. Well, they plant some flowers,
Well,
some
in the
hydrangeas.
in the corner of the end zone that's like close to Stadium Drive, they've got a new banner that says "Climb," and then in the corner opposite of that, that's closest to the Sod Cemetery. You know how they have the plaques with like all the ACC teams and the national championship teams. Now it actually says "National Champions." And they got like these big Hollywood white letters, but in Florida State font that says National Champions. It's got the 3 plaques there. So,
which is smart because they've always been there, and if you looked at them, you're like, okay, 93, 99, 13. I know what they all have in common.
Right.
But why not at least present it like that? Yeah. So they did it. That's good to know. But yeah, going back to baseball, overall a good series, and it's going to be a lot of that this year, man. They're going to be a lot of they won a game 2-0, they lost the game 2-1. There's going to be some of that stuff. Every now and again, because of the walks and the hit by pitches, if they can get a couple of hits, they can blow out a game. But it's going to be a lot of tight games, man, from here on out. It just is. Like, they played 6 ACC games. 4 of them have come down to the final pitch, probably. Right? They lost 1-0 to Pitt, and then they lost in extra innings to Pitt. Yep. And then they won a game 2-0 and lost the game 2-1. So there's not going to be a lot of blowouts either way. It's going to be a lot of tight games over the course of a season. Their bullpen being what it is and their arms being what they are, they should have a bit of an advantage over most of the ACC, but not all. But like Meat said after the game on, I think Saturday, maybe Friday, he's like, look, all of us have major league arms now that probably should have never been in college, but they're here. You're having to deal. That's why these strikeouts are up. Like Florida State strikes out a ton, way too much on offense. I can agree with that. Well, they've only struck out 8 more times than their opponents.
Yeah.
It's pretty even. Like, they struck out a ton of Virginia guys, too. Connor Grady I think they struck out 13 Virginia guys on Sunday, and Florida State struck out 15 times on their own. So you had 28 strikeouts, and that's going to be a lot of that. It's hard to hit these dudes. I think overall that the defense was pretty good. Again, and the pitching is going to be what this team has. The problem is you can only go so far on just really good pitching. You have to have some semblance of an offense. And you have to assume we're only 9 games in that Robbie Martin isn't going to continue to slug 235. Robbie Martin has had 34 at-bats without an extra base hit. That can't be. That can't happen. He's too good a hitter. Reese Albert has 3 extra base hits and 33 at-bats. You can't have those 2 guys and then Cabell all slugging under 400. Those should all be 500 slugging guys. They need to be impact bats. Other than a ball that Cabell hit to the moon that still only counted for 1 home run, not 2 or 3 like it should have, They haven't been getting the middle of their order production. Those guys have got to have impact bats. And Martin had the big hit on Friday, but overall, again, that guy's got to be hitting the ball off the fence, over the fence. Same with Albert, same with Cabell. That's what they're there for.
They're doing good in the field too, though. They were clean on Sunday, no errors.
Their fielding is a team 977, which is good. Usually they're not up there. 977 is a perfectly fine fielding percentage. That's 8 errors in 9 games. You can live with that in college baseball. They're even with their opponents in fielding percentage. So that's good. That is a good sign. You can win a lot of games on pitching and defense. You can't win championships when you're slugging 311 as a team. You just can't. That's not Florida State baseball. They walk a lot. That is Florida State baseball. Their OBP, I'm looking at it now, is 363. That's still not where they want it. Nope. They want to be about 400, more than that. But they've got to start hitting the ball hard with authority. But, yeah, good for Tyler Martin, man. That kid, I mean, he's out of all the strikeouts, he struck out twice the whole season.
Yeah.
Everybody else, you don't even want to know. But Tyler Martin's out there striking out twice. And one was right after he'd hurt himself. Yep. Where he'd pulled his hip or something on a check swing. So I'm going to say he's really only struck out once. He's the kid can just hit. He can flat out hit.
And I think he scored the run on Friday night. I think he scored one of the runs. But then Saturday, he put the pressure on them. He was getting balls thrown in the dirt, and then I think that walked the bases loaded. Look, they got he got a 3-0 count. They had no part of him. Pitchers are scared of this kid. It's hilarious to watch. Because not because of his stature or anything, but it just when you talk to him about daddy ball and stuff, I'm sure. When he first got in the lineup last year, it's really, man, this guy's going to be starting in college baseball.
Not even starting; he was batting leadoff.
Yeah, I mean, he is legit. It's awesome to
Yeah.
like experience greatness. He's probably like one of the best male athletes on campus right now. Like, I'm being serious.
I don't know if I'd go that far.
I mean,
but only because it's a small sample size. Like, he's played 20 college games. Let's give him a little more. But I will say he's the best hitter on the team right now, and he's only going to get better because he's only going to get stronger. And once these singles and doubles turn into home runs, again, you're looking at, I think, an impact bat, a legitimate impact bat, because he doesn't strike out much. He's got 9 walks and 2 strikeouts. Everybody else has got many more strikeouts than walks, but he's got 9 walks and 2 strikeouts. That is an elite hand-eye coordination. It's elite bat speed. Everything you need. He can do it. He can hit, man. Good for him.
Yeah, and he cranked one off the wall in the 9th inning, 1-out double, and then
if he weighed more than $150, my man would have tied the game.
Yeah, I'm saying, pound for pound, most feared FSU athlete in history. Somebody say Tay Cody.
Pound for pound. Yeah, that's not bad. Tay Cody, that's a good one. Tony Douglas, maybe. Maybe because he's just on the brain, but he couldn't have weighed more than 180. Yeah. And he was
155,
incredible.
Man. Tom Martin listed 155.
Yeah.
All right, I wonder if like Gene's listening. Gene listens to the podcast a lot. I wonder if he's like, you idiots went 50 minutes the day before spring football without talking about football. So I don't know, maybe I'll splice this in front of the basketball stuff, but then I don't want to anger our burgeoning basketball listenership.
Right.
There was probably nearly 24 guys on the practice field Sunday when I was out there covering the basketball or the baseball game. But the only one I recognized for sure was Parker Grotehouse. I would say that probably the majority of them were walk-ons. Like, I'm not crazy, lost decade student Aslan where I could ID any football player from like the profile shot of their face from like 90 yards away. But I'm like, they look pretty much like walk-ons. But they're all out there. I never saw that covering baseball games when the other guy was around. So that's kind of cool. We saw lots of video. It was squat day. Guys getting after it. A lot of camaraderie. Although I think I remember seeing clips of guys getting back slaps and stuff after they squatted with the last stab. So what happens in a weight room. Guys get jacked up by their teammates and then celebrate afterwards.
And we did talk to Norvell and Storms on Friday. So we did get that. And he did say, I want to point this out. He did say they're trying to work on maybe giving us access.
Yeah, there you go. He heard you, Corey. He heard you.
I'm going to say squeaky wheels, baby. This platform is huge, obviously. It's the preeminent platform in all of Florida State media, probably all of college sports media, if you really think about it. Wake Up Warchant is thought of that highly. Obviously word got back to Norvell, and the last thing you want to do, the very last thing you want to do as the head coach at Florida State is anger Corey Clark or Aslan.
That's right.
Because we're kingmakers.
What we do.
We're decision makers.
Bully pulpit.
Bobby Bowden would still be coaching at Florida State if it wasn't for me. Just throwing that out there, guys. So Mike Norvell needs to, it's at his own peril whether he lets us watch practice or not.
How many beers would we have to get into Jeff Cameron before he would take credit for that?
Oh, about Bowden?
Yeah.
I don't know if you have to go beer to him. Give him a soda.
We love Jeff. I love Jeff. Jeff's the man. So he said I had to transcribe it, which now I know why half you guys don't like Jimbo, because you had to transcribe his quotes. And that must have been just hell on earth. He said remarkable probably about 12 times.
Yeah.
But it was a 30-minute, press conference, so you can do that. That's fine. Are you any more excited or optimistic or hopeful or looking for anything after hearing what he and Josh Storms talked about on Friday?
No, not really. But I'm excited that it's starting. I'm not being dismissive. It is cool that football is here in some capacity, and we'll get to see it in some capacity, so that's neat.
Mackenzie good to go. Mackenzie's good to go, right?
I mean, that's cool. That probably again is the thing that he's moving around like they say he is, and he is fully cleared to do everything, which is good. Now they're all going to be in non-contact, but still he's fully cleared to do every drill that all the other quarterbacks are doing. So that is a good sign for sure.
Yeah, he said I've seen all these guys take hits, so they'll be non-contact.
Yeah,
so that's good.
Even for Chubba.
And then before we go, thread title, didn't click it. Is it normal for a top recruit to have his family up and move with him? Didn't click on it, Corey. Didn't want no part of it. Want no part of it.
I like this. I like this. I like this new addition to Wake Up Warchant.
Want no part of it. Tuesday, that's tomorrow. First day of spring football. I think 6:15 we'll get Mike Norvell. And there's a schedule.
PM.
I'm sorry. Yeah, PM.
Yes.
Yeah, thank goodness. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So I don't know when we're going to do our live shows. Maybe like 9 p.m. or so. I know you got it right. You got to do important stuff. I mean, I'm just filming them off Zoom, which that's not me complaining. I understand. I'm cool with it. He said that maybe he's going to, reassess what they're going to do. But do know we're here working for you. And I'm trying to pull up because I can't find. Why don't I not have the schedule? Here it is. We're going to get Norvell, Dillingham, and requested players. So I'm sure Mackenzie Milton will be a guy that I'm gonna message Ira right now and be like, make sure that Mackenzie's on the list.
There you go. Good thinking. Hey, good thinking. You probably won't be the only one that requests them, but I like the forethought.
You never know. Well, everybody assumes 247. I'd be like, I'm sure Warchant's going to put it in. And then we're like, 247 is probably going to put it in. And you know what happens? No one puts it in.
Yeah, we get a fullback. We get or a backup tight end.
Yeah. So 6:15 in the evening. So rearrange your schedules. Nice. Maybe brew a second pot of DeLuna coffee. Be ready for it. Spring football is here. He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Thanks for listening to Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee.
Warchant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. Warchant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WARCHANT30. That's WARCHANT30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WARCHANT30. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.